Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Classic Restos. Of course, not possible without the continued support of Shannon's Insurance. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannon's a call on 134646. You can also visit them online at shannons.com.au. In fact, you can't beat Shannon's because they offer us as the enthusiasts just so much. A 10% multi-policy discount if you add your home insurance to your current car or bike insurance. Only a company full of enthusiasts like us would think of cover like that. Visit the website and while you're there, sign up and become a member of the Shannon's Club. Now on today's show, I want to bring you something really special. Working in conjunction with Carlisle Events, I've travelled some 40 minutes north of Carlisle here to Hershey to show you the incredible AACA Auto Museum. My first visit here last year left me wanting to return. The AACA stands for Antique Automobile Club of America. The AACA Museum is dedicated to the celebration, preservation, education and display of the American motor vehicle history that provides value for their members, hobbyists and the public. In 2001, $7 million was received or pledged, reflecting this outstanding 71,000 square foot building today. In addition, the AACA Museum houses the Bus Transportation Collection, a floor full of buses and more than 30 motorcycles and 100 cars on display. The museum's floor area has a staggering 20,000 square feet, also incorporating ever-changing displays with loaned vehicles that range from horseless carriages through to the muscle car era. It was Buick that paced the Indy 500 back in 1975 for the first time in 16 years. The car of choice, as seen here, was the Century Custom Coupe, equipped with the 455 cubic inch V8, and it was adorned with a unique exterior graphics package, a stiffer suspension. It had larger tyres and a 2.5 inch exhaust system as well, which also helped the car pace around the track. And the car was driven by well-known actor James Garner. Now the first section that you enter is the Don Williams and Richie Klein Gallery. Now this room represents vehicles from the early 1900s. Isn't this amazing? We've just walked through the 1910 to 1919 gallery and behind me is an exact replica workshop from the late 1800s. This is what used to put cars together. Such a far cry from the assembly lines that we know of today. Talk about early beginnings. How about a 1903 Ford? 2-cylinder, 8 horsepower, base price when new, $850. In 1913, Henry Ford was punching out 1,000 cars per day, and it didn't take him long to realise that he could ship 26 cars in pieces as opposed to 4 completed cars shipped earlier. In 1929, a guy by the name of Frank Hartmeyer took possession of his brand new Model A Roadster. He was just 17 years old and, luckily, he had a job. He only chose 2 options for the car. It was a spare tyre and a rumble seat. He put down $305 and financed the remaining $255 through a local finance company. Now, he kept and used this car his entire life. He restored it 4 times over the course of ownership. He accumulated over 400,000 miles before its speedometer stopped working. Frank and his car were well known in the Model A world, and he personally drove his car to all the meets around the country. Well, to as many that he possibly could. This special car was left to the museum in his will. And as for some extra trivia as well, police used to often stop Frank on the interstate freeways in fear of his safety because of faster moving, up and coming traffic, and they used to give him an escort to the next town. Well, we're moving through the 1920s section now, and these murals on the wall are absolutely outstanding, depicting the time of the township of Hershey back in the Roaring '20s. Now, Milton Hershey was a great man, employing virtually the entire town at his chocolate factory. Some of the old buildings remain standing today. Moving through into the 30s era now, and what a classic era this was. We have a 1938 Lincoln, next to it an absolutely gorgeous 1930 Packard, and on the end a 1932 Studebaker. These were the top-end cars, not the type of vehicle that your average Joe would have bought or been able to afford back in the day. We're into the pop culture and cars section now. Look at this, a 1967 Buick Sport Wagon. It was produced from 1964 through to 1972. It was a huge station wagon that had 4 doors and a front engine layout. This 67 Buick Sport Wagon rode on a 121-inch wheelbase, and it was powered by a 340 V8 engine. These Sport Wagon models had triple venti ports and Sport Wagon script on the rear quarters. Inside, it hosted a vinyl interior, it had full carpeting, and it included 100 cubic feet of cargo capacity. The increased headroom and length enabled Buick's Sport Wagon to be introduced with a forward-facing third row of seats. The rear seating of the Sport Wagon was marketed to come with quite a view. Besides the large curved pane running along the sides, the rear passengers had windows above their heads. The increased ceiling height enabled the design to be fitted with a Vista roof, as Oldsmobile marketed. Try buying that for your family today. This car beside me is a 1977 Cadillac Seville, and it's come from a car collector. But the original owner, well, the car belonged to the actress Betty White. In the late 70s, Cadillac, like a lot of other cars, changed in radical ways. They were smaller, lighter, more fuel efficient. This particular V8 punched out 180 horsepower, a far cry from its predecessors. It hosted a price tag of just over $13,000 and still held its own in the luxury car market stakes. But none of those statistics worried Betty White. This Cadillac beside me still went down as one of her favourite cars of all time, reflected by a handwritten letter that was received by the next owner. How cool is this AACA museum? And what you're seeing on today's show is just a drop in the ocean. It's impossible to cram everything into a half-hour show. Beside me, a sleeve valve engine from the 1920s. Amazing. Push a button, see it working. Here we have a 1914 Stearns Knight. How wealthy would you have had to have been back in 1914 to afford a motor car such as this? It's the epitome of style and class. That 6-cylinder engine, 3.5-inch bore and a 5-inch stroke, 6-cylinder engine, 70 horsepower, which for 1914 was immense. Not only that, it would feature fantastic torque as well from such a displacement. I hope you're really enjoying today's episode here at the AACA Auto Museum in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Of course, it's thanks to Shannon's Insurance. Give them a call, 134646. You can visit Shannon's online as well at shannons.com.au. Stay in your favourite chair. Back with more right after this. Welcome back. With me now we've got Mark Lazuski. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing fine, Fletch. Yourself?
Good. Going great. Mark's the Executive Director here at the AACA Museum. Boy, I could think of worse places to go to work each day, Mark.
It's a great place. You know, it's the job I've dreamed all my life for.
Yeah, well, it's finally come true, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. You know, I'd almost pay to be here.
Absolutely. Tell us about the museum, Mark. How long have you been here, firstly?
Well, I started here in October of 2012, but I had been involved with the museum from a third-party basis from pretty much the start. We're actually celebrating our 10th anniversary here in 2013. An
integral part of the museum here, you do a wonderful job. It's the preservation of vehicles, bikes. We've got buses and trucks. Down there in the basement, down underneath, we're in the bike section now. This is the British Invasion section of the museum. What can you tell us about it?
Well, sure. The British Invasion is our current motorcycle exhibit. We have a number of our own bikes that we display throughout the year, but we try to change things up and have special traditional bikes. You know, last year we had dirt bikes of the 70s, so now we've got the British Invasion, which really celebrates the British-built motorcycles throughout the heyday up until the 1970s through the implosion. And it talks about, you know, why they were so popular here in America. You know, they had great performance bikes. You know, they were better handling than the American bikes of those periods, and really, you know, how they were celebrated and ultimately what led to their demise.
Tell us about the bikes here.
Well, as I said, we've got this great display of British bikes celebrating, you know, the history of the British bikes and how the impact that they had on America. You know, we've got some, you know, a Vincent Black Shadow, an Ariel Square, you know, some of the great BSA and Triumphs. We got a Douglas Dragonfly. When was the last time you saw one of those? We do a lot of revolving exhibits throughout the year, in addition to what we usually have. I mean, we have our own bikes, we have our own cars, we have, you know, the bus museum here as well, which is some cool stuff there, but we do mix it up. You know, right now we're doing our pop culture display, which you saw upstairs. You know, next year we're doing some hand-built street rods. I'm doing some Japanese car display. Got some other cool, we got a, you know, the world's largest Tucker car collection coming to us permanently, so we've got some really fun times.
I love so much about this museum is the fact that you guys are actually getting the Tucker car. Now, there are only 50 ever made. As I've alluded to before, that Jeff Bridges film Tucker is one of my favourites, and to think that you're not only getting 3 cars, but you're getting chassis rails and there's engines. Apparently there's 9 spare engines as well.
Yeah, I mean, through the goodness of David Kamek, he willed us his Tucker collection. It is the largest collection in the world. You know, it's 3 cars, a Tucker test chassis that they use for promotions. There are 9 experimental engines plus a super rare 4-cylinder overhead cam twin plug Indy race engine that is built by Tucker. All the factory blueprints. So we're talking 50,000 full-size factory blueprints. Along with, I mean, if it had anything to do with Tucker, we're getting it. The manufacturer, license plates, everything.
A wonderful thing about Pennsylvania, there's so many museums, so much to see here.
Oh, Fletch, you know, Pennsylvania is really the hotbed for automobile. I mean, anybody that comes here on their tours or anything like that is going to be blown away. I mean, there's 5 or 6 car museums, there's all the swap meets, there's the race courses, there is so much to do. I mean, I moved to Pennsylvania specifically for the great automotive activities here.
It's great to speak to a bloke that's got it bad, and I must admit too, the amount of people that come up to me and they say, Fletch, we've seen you at Carlisle, can we come with you? And hence the inception of the Fletch Tours for 2014.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, anybody that goes to Carlisle, Fall Hershey, any of those things, I mean, you're going to have a great time, trust me.
Well, no doubt, everyone's going to be welcome here with you lot anyway.
Definitely. Well, everybody's welcome here. Yeah, but it said everybody should bring a spare suitcase because you're going to bring a lot of stuff home with you.
That's great. Expressions of interest too for the Fletch Tours 2014. Send me an email through classicrestos.com.au. All right, Mark, it's great catching up with you. Now, look, stick around because after the break, as a part of the AACA Auto Museum's collection, we've got some trucks behind that wall there, and we've also got some buses. We've even got a diner in there. So after the break, we're going to go and check those out. What do you say, Mark?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
With me now, Toby Diamond from Penrod Oil. Toby, welcome on board with Classic Restos.
Oh, it's great to be here, Fletch, and we're very proud to be associated with Classic Restos this year.
Thank you very much. Toby, tell us a bit about the history. People out there, it's interesting stuff. Where did it all begin with you guys?
It began in 1926, which is 87 years ago now. It started off in a small shed in St Kilda in Melbourne by a gentleman named Les Meekholes. He was 16 years old, a true innovator. He was inspired by the great John Rockefeller back in the early 20th century, and he went out and started an oil company. Started there, he was servicing all the local communities, a lot of farms in the area in Melbourne back in those days, and he grew and grew, and my father purchased the business in 1979. So Les predominantly focused in Melbourne and Sydney and probably Adelaide. My dad then took it to the next level 35 years ago. My dad was a true innovator. He migrated to Australia in 1959. He had 9 children. My dad was a true innovator in the oil industry. His background was an engineer at Vauxhall in the UK. He then came to Australia with BP and went from there to Lubrizol. He met Les Meekholes, who was a great friend. Les unfortunately had cancer. He had no family to pass him on. My dad purchased the business from there.
And to think that Les started in his home kitchen way back then.
Yeah, it's just truly amazing, but it just shows you those who take risks and go out and try new things. He did that, and my dad did similar things. He brought in new oils, which a lot of people just thought he was absolutely crazy, and the legend of HBR was born. And what Dad did was actually blend oils for the Australian conditions. So a lot of the oils were made in America or in Europe, and Dad actually took the risk and blended oils for the Australian conditions and brought out new grades, which a lot of people have now replicated now, which is quite ironic. But Dad was a true innovator, so my job now is to replicate what he's done. And in our business, we have 6 family members working for us, and we're all, we own the business and we manage the business, so we're very proud of what we're doing.
For more information on the major sponsor, you know who these people are, visit their link via my website, classicrestos.com.au. If you really enjoy your favourite TV show Classic Restos, well, the DVD boxed sets, along with other Classic Restos merchandise, is available at classicrestos.com.au. While you're there, check out the major sponsors as well, and to see how they can help you. Back with more in just a moment. Welcome back. Well, here we are down in the ground floor gallery of the AACA Auto Museum here in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Down under here is a different dimension again. There are so many goodies awaiting us. Let's get around and take a closer look. And before we move on to the buses and a few trucks here, have a look at this 1933 Chevrolet. How cool is this? In 1933, Chevrolet dealers sponsored the first soapbox derby in Dayton, Ohio. And that year, the company also introduced a new Airstream design car called the Master Eagle Series. 8 body styles comprise this particular line, including this sleek convertible. It also hosted a Fisher body featuring a no-draft ventilation system, and it was highlighted by slanting hood door louvers, skirted fenders, and a beaver tail back panel. All in all, what a cool car. It was $565 brand new. It has a 6-cylinder engine rated at 65 horsepower. If you really love what you see here at the AACA Museum, well, this is going to be a hot spot on the itinerary for the Fletch Tours in 2014. Now, if you love Ford, GM or Chrysler and you would love to attend a Carlisle event, we're taking expressions for interest for 2014 now. Send me an email via classicrestos.com.au. Well, I've got Mark again. How are you, Mark?
Hey, we're doing great.
That's good. You're following me around the museum. You're loving it, aren't you?
Oh, heck yeah. Why shouldn't you? Look at this place.
This is incredible in here. Give us a rundown on what we'll find here, Mark.
Well, down in the basement, of course, we have our 1940s diner behind us, and that is an actual diner that came out of Wichita, Kansas, and it's been fully restored. It's Flo's Cafe, basically, and it's got all the stuff from original in there. We've also got our great museum of bus transportation, which is sort of a mini museum within our museum. So we've got some great buses from the early brass era all the way up to some of the more modern stuff.
Yeah. You know what gets me with the diner?
What's that?
The fact of how small they were, which really represented a time where there was less population. They were busy, but they're small. They're so small by today's standards.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's very compact. And actually, that was made to tow around because there was a slot in that door that you were to be able to put your monthly mortgage payment in there. And if you didn't pay, they hooked it up and took it away from you.
Wow. Oh, well, you don't pay, out you go. It's so good to see a diner that represented an era back in the days when it used to pay off a family home. It'd pay its own self off, plus put kids through school. People made a whole life around a diner such as that.
Oh, sure. And, that still goes on in Pennsylvania today. You'd be surprised. There are a lot of second, third, fourth generation restaurants here, little mom and pop things, people bring the kids that have been coming there for generations. And you still see a lot of that. If people come here on the tour and hit some of the highways and byways, you'll definitely see all those.
It's certainly the end of an era, and it's just so refreshing to hear the ones that are still surviving and still doing okay.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Pennsylvania is very family friendly and, has always done, right by its people.
Yeah. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. Now, with the buses, there's one right up the end there, the one that was used in Forrest Gump, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that is the Gump bus, we call it. So people love to come see that.
It's just so surreal. I mean, it's a bus, but it was used in such an iconic movie. The history behind all these vehicles is amazing. Is there any particular vehicle here that has an outstanding story that you can just think of?
Well, we've got the Rio Hearse, which was used in the 20s, but you look at it, there's a coffin in the back. But what you don't see until you open it up is that there's a bar back there, because back in that time, of course, the United States was under prohibition. So a hearse was a perfect place to hide liquor and booze. So, and then that vehicle was used during prohibition to bootleg liquor.
Well, that just takes on spirits of a whole new meaning, doesn't it?
You're darn right. Holy spirits.
Incredible. We over to my left, the Rolls-Royce there, which is good to see. There's a bit of European stuff here as well. The Rolls-Royce, Whitney Houston's limo, right?
Definitely, yep. That was donated to us by an anonymous donor, and it was Whitney. She bought it brand new when she lived in New Jersey, and then when she married Bobby Brown, she ended up selling it and using his staff and everything. But we've got some celebrity cars here. Of course, we've got Whitney's Rolls-Royce. We've got Betty White's Cadillac Seville upstairs. So it's some really cool stuff between the Gump bus and everything.
Yeah. Mark, you've also got a whole stack. You've got a bunch of garage art. Where do you get these signs from?
Oh, these signs are all fantastic. And like the cars, they're all donated from people. We've got everything from the original neon dealer signs to the old porcelain signs. We got some really, really cool stuff. And, probably by a year from now, we may have another few displays with the Tuckers coming in. I actually was able to find some original literature that detailed what the factory showroom signs should look like. So if we get those created, it's going to be very, very cool.
I think what is really nice is that Model A Ford upstairs that was donated. Frank's car, he'd had since new. 70-something years, he had this. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah, and the guy was brilliant. He first went to his parents and said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to buy an airplane. And they're freaked out and said, no way in heck, we don't want you to buy an airplane. So he thought about it and he said, well, maybe I'll just buy a car. Oh, that's great, son. We'll get you a car. That's fine. So he was really using his noodle. But he owned that car brand new. That was his daily driver. Put 400,000 miles on it, did 4 restorations on it, and then upon his death, it came here. So it is really a great car. For him to have that much passion over that car and keep it his entire lifetime, that really is a testament to a passion.
Well, that and a whole lot more awaits you when you pop in here and visit the AACA Auto Museum in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Mark, what do I say? Been an absolute pleasure catching up with you. Thank you for your time. You're a busy guy and love what you do. Love your work.
Thanks, Fletch. Have a great day.
This long-wheelbase 1929 Packard wears a coach-built phaeton body. Wealthy customers often bought bare chassis from luxury car makers and had custom bodies installed by companies like Brunn & Dietrich. This vehicle features a separate cowl and windscreen designed to protect rear seat passengers from wind and debris during spirited driving. The straight 8-cylinder power plant replaced the V12 in 1923 and would power Packard cars until the 1930s. The Packard family coat of arms appeared on the radiator emblem for the first time in 1929. There was just something about that 6.6 logo on the black Trans Am driven by Burt Reynolds in the movie Smokey and the Bandit. What an iconic film. This car was given to Burt Reynolds after the Smokey and the Bandit movie was filmed. Apparently so many Trans Ams were sold from the movie, it was General Motors' way of saying, thanks Burt. This actual car belongs to National Parts Depot in Florida, proudly on display here at the AACA Auto Museum. Well, it's time now for some old buses on Classic Restos. This 1927 Fagel fits the piece perfectly. In 1927, the Auto Interurban Company of Spokane Wash purchased the Fagel chassis and had an all-metal hyzer body put on it by the Seattle firm. This bus operated as fleet number 41 for Auto Interurban. It was powered by a Hall Scott model 155-2 6-cylinder engine. The transmission was a Brown LPE 4-speed. It was 28 feet in length. The width of the bus was 96 inches and it seated 15 people. And look at this 1924 Fagel. In service from 1924 through to 1949, this Fagel has also guest starred in 2 movies, The Presidio with Sean Connery and Meg Ryan, and Ironwood with Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep. It's powered by a Diamond T Hercules 6. Transmission is of course a manual and it seats 29 people. And this is a 1929 yellow coach. This was a new Model W yellow coach with an observation-style rear and was introduced in 1929. The observation-style rear featured extensive griddle work and special lamps. The chassis was designated as 331 and the body 361. The Model W yellow coach was a small bus built for both city and intercity service, with about 1,165 Model Ws built between 1928 and 1934. And an interesting thing too for car buffs, you might like to know that even way back then, this bus was powered by a 351 cubic inch Cadillac V8. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Just a glimpse of the AACA Auto Museum here in Hershey in Pennsylvania. There really is just so much more to see. Now, classicrestos.com.au, that's the website that you need for the DVD box sets of the show and other Classic Restos merchandise. Of course, the major sponsors' logos are there as well. Click on those to find out more information as to how they can help you. As I say at the end of every show, until next week, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching.
Don't forget to like Classic Restos on Facebook. Facebook.com/Classic Restos TV. And episodes can be seen at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.